Folks, so here we are for week 4. Technically, as at the time of this recording, the game was actually still under a rain delay, but I highly doubt that this game will be resumed tonight, so here we are now. I would be lying if I said I was surprised by this result because Utah is a Pac-12 team. And the Pac-12, I'm convinced, has been the real power conference in college football for the last couple of years. And so you put a Pac-12 team and a Big Ten team together in the same room, and this is probably what's going to happen about 9 times out of 10. I mean, don't get me wrong, Utah isn't exactly a stellar team, but they're solid. And right now, a solid Pac-12 team can probably beat any team in the Big Ten, except maybe Michigan State. But the end result is that Michigan will split its non-conference games, going 2-2. And the only 2 wins came up against a glorified FCS team and a team that hasn't won a football game in for a year or 2 now. Which is why I think the narrative for this game is not going to be about how good Utah is, but how putrid and pathetic and disgusting that Michigan looked. Now, as I stated before, I am a fan of Brady Hoke. At this point, I am officially worried about his job. Michigan has gone 2-8 now in its last 10 games. They've been to a bowl game every year under Hoke's tenure, but only his first year did they go to a BCS bowl. And they won that game, but arguably it was a factor of luck. And when you consider that Brendan Gibbons was the player that got us the winning points, some may make the argument that that win should be vacated, or it wouldn't have happened had certain procedures been followed correctly. And in my opinion, that's a fair argument. But as it stands, the last 2 bowl games have not been BCS bowls, and Michigan has lost both of them. And when you look at the level of talent that's on the field, all these touted recruits, all these 4- and 5-star recruits that are out there, including the number 2 player in the country in Jabril Peppers, it gets to a point where you have to start looking at the coaching staff. And I think we have now officially gotten to that point. Now, I think Brady Hoke can coach. I think he certainly deserves to be a head coach of a college football team. Maybe not a Big Ten team, maybe not even an FBS team, but he does deserve to be head coach somewhere. I think he's also a great recruiter, and I do appreciate the love and dedication that he has for the University of Michigan. I mean, I think that actually is a good intangible. I mean, I know people are tired of this whole Michigan man mantra, but I think that to have that level of respect and appreciation for the program is not something to be touted lightly or to be brushed aside. But at the same time, if I was to support the notion of a coaching change, I would only do it in the sense that sometimes you just need a new face. Sometimes, no matter how likable or how good a recruiter he is, or how hard he works, or how dedicated your head coach is to winning, sometimes you need a new face. You see, while I won't go so far as to be disrespectful by saying that Brady Hoke wants Michigan to lose, I would never accuse him of doing that, I'm afraid that he's almost addicted to Michigan losing. He just can't seem to get out of its way. And sometimes, if you really want your program to get back to the elite level, you just need a new face. You need a new voice for a team, a athletic department, a university to take them back to that level. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Brady Hoke is that guy. Now, I will argue that Brady Hoke is the guy who could get us to the level where we get the next guy, the guy that can bring Michigan back to the elite tier. But as for making waves in the college football world, the head coach for so many other famous teams were, Texas A&M or Alabama or even Florida State, I don't think he's that caliber of a head coach. But now the question becomes, who do you get to replace him? And this is the main reason why I'm hesitant, right now at least, to advocate for a coaching change. Because this is what Michigan fans need to understand. John Harbaugh is not walking through that tunnel. Jim Harbaugh is not walking through that tunnel. Les Miles is not walking through that tunnel. I know you can rant and rave all you want about how Les Miles, he's also a Michigan man, has love for the program, and how John and Jim Harbaugh apparently aren't too happy with their current situation in the NFL in respect to their teams. But realistically, they are not walking through that tunnel. Realistically, if you look at the coaching landscape right now, it is very tough to find someone who is definitively better than Brady Hoke, at least in terms of from a hiring viewpoint. I don't know who you can hire to replace Hoke that would definitively make this team better. If anything, it would probably put us right back to where we were in the Rich Rodriguez eras. So that's the main reason why I am hesitant to advocate a coaching change. I mean, don't get me wrong, if it turns out that Les Miles or one of the Harbaughs look for a new job, then yeah, by all means, go call him up, hire him, bring him to Ann Arbor. But until then, I think we need to focus more on fixing the problems with this team that we have with our current coach and our current staff, as opposed to wiping the slate clean and starting over. Now that leads me to my next point of view. I'm also a big fan of Devin Gardner. And now I am worried about his job. Because he is regressing. He's still making these mistakes. He still looks unsure. He still looks depressed when things don't go his way. Now, I got tremendous respect for the guy. I think he's a good player, a good athlete, and a good person. That's actually what I've heard from around the fan base, is that they respect Devin Gardner a lot as a person. But it's clear now that he's not in the elite quarterback class of Tom Brady or Denard Robinson or especially Tom Harmon. While I won't go so far as to say that he's disrespecting Tom Harmon by wearing his number, I would say that he's not doing enough to earn it. And the thing that drives me nuts about Devin Gardner is that he has the talent to be an elite quarterback. I mean, I know he won't consistently be an elite quarterback. I mean, I understand that over the course of a 12-game season, he can't look like an elite quarterback. Heck, in the course of, over maybe the non-conference games against a decent opponent like a Notre Dame or a Utah, he can't look like that. But we just need Devin Gardner to not be an average quarterback. And because of his talent, I will say this. I think we're at the point now where we can have moments where he looks elite. I mean, I was saying all last year that he had the talent to be elite if he would turn the page. Well, now he's in his 5th year. Doesn't look like it's happening this year. But we can't have moments where he looks elite. I mean, he can't look elite, for a conference game. He can't look elite for, a half. It's just, I don't know. But then, of course, it comes down back to the coaching. Wasn't the new offensive coordinator, Doug Nussmeier, supposed to fix this? And that's also another problem, okay? I am not impressed right now so far with Doug Nussmeier. I mean, yeah, the offense looks a step up from last year under Borges, but for the most part, it's still suspect, okay? I mean, the running game, it's there, but it's not always on. The passing game is limited to maybe 1 or 2 people. The offense as a whole just looks completely out of sync. There's no cohesion. There's no productiveness. I mean, just you look at the numbers, you can see right here. I mean, and the thing is that Michigan actually outgained Utah in this game. I mean, they were at 17 first downs to their 12. 2 and 3 on 4th downs. 7 of 16 on 3rd downs, which actually is about where they want to be, because Doug Nussmeier did say that they had a goal this year of 40% 3rd down conversions or better. That's about 40% right there. They've actually outgained Utah 276 yards, 261 yards. Now, again, the stats at the time the game was suspended, so by the time it's all said and done, it might be different, but still, and the rushing game has been there. I mean, they have 3.5 yards per rush, per Utah's 2.1, but what it comes down to is turnovers. They had 3 turnovers to their 1 turnover, and granted, Utah's turnover was a pick 6, and they haven't thrown one yet. But it's just those little things that make difference. I mean, and again, it comes down to the coaching. It's just that we kind of we all knew the offensive line was going to be stellar, but we kind of expected it to be a little better than this. I mean, we kind of expected it to get to the point where our only points against two quality opponents so far weren't scored by our special teams and our defense. Now, I will say this. Our defense is not bad. That's like the one unifying thing right now. The defense is there. I mean, they're respectable. I mean, you got players like Frank Clark and Jake Ryan, and especially Jabril Peppers, along with Blake Countess. They can make plays. There are some real studs on the defense. I mean, this will go, and if this result holds here, then in both losses, Michigan will have actually outgained its opponents on offensive yardage. And part of that is due to the defense. But unfortunately, because the offense is so bad, it puts more pressure on the defense. And there's only so much you can do. I mean, that's eventually why Utah, after they barely scraped by in the first half, really started opening the game up in the second half. Now, granted, all they've had to show are 2 field goals and a touchdown, but eventually there's only just so much that the defense can do before they break. But again, this defense is just so stout. It's respectable. It certainly can make things happen, can make things interesting. If the offense can just get anything going, then Michigan could pull out a game. They could have pulled out this game if the offense was just able to get something going. But that didn't happen. And that is a problem. And Michigan needs to fix that problem quick, fast, in a hurry, or this could be a very long season. Now, I suppose the good news, whatever there is that we are starting conference play. And with the sorry state of the Big Ten right now, it's safe to say that we probably won't be playing a decent team for the rest of the year, bar Michigan State, of course, and maybe Penn State. And my 8-4 prediction still holds, still sticking to that. However, a part of me says that at the rate this is going right now, Michigan will be lucky to win 6 games. Of course, that could still win the Big Ten. We just don't know, but yeah, it's just, I'm not going to go so far as this team is an atrocity or an embarrassment or a disgrace, because I understand, this team is young. There's a lot of new things, new players, new coaching staff, but at this point, we're out of excuses. I mean, the time for excuses is over. It's just, right now, you're at a point where it's like, who cares about what the media says or what the fans say? You got a job to do. And your job ain't even to win a national championship. It's just to be respectable. Or at least be a top-tier team in a crap-tier conference. You're telling me you can't even do that? I don't know. Like I said, we still got a lot of football ahead of us. I went into it saying that this game was make or break. Like, this is the game where Michigan either get it together and prove it could compete in the Big Ten, or a game where it would just kind of come apart and say there's still problems. Unfortunately, it looks to be the latter. And again, the only reason I'm saying that Michigan still has a realistic shot of going 8-4 or better is because of how sorry the Big Ten is right now. And I'll go further by saying this. If Michigan doesn't do 8-2, at least 8-2 in Big Ten play, then it's time for a serious change. See you next week. Go Blue.